Morning, everybody. I've got man flu. That's my excuse. So if I cough and splutter, that's my reason. So morning, everybody. Tube strikes. So I wouldn't have come basically if the strikes hadn't been resolved. So whilst I've got flu, I do feel a lot better that the strikes have. They're only suspended, by the way, so it could all be back on again. But I am pleased to say that currently a good service does operate on all lines. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, I mean, being a classic boring civil servant, being provocative, of course, is not really my métier, but I'm going to be trying to be a bit provocative here. And it says social media measurement is a hot topic. I don't know that social media measurement is a hot topic. Certainly social media is a hot topic, and I think possibly one of our suggestions is probably social media measurement isn't hot enough, actually, and probably isn't being tackled particularly well. So one of the questions is, how can we make proper business decisions regarding social media investment? Because quite often it does involve large deployments of people, resources, and what have you. I think there is a bit of a danger that sometimes that people think that social media is somehow sort of cost-free. Because when you do it personally, it doesn't really cost very much. Once you start to do it organisationally in large scale, it gets quite significant. Interesting, as another aside, there's probably a whole discussion about the role of social media during the recent strikes, where we quite heavily deployed our social media resources. But I think that's probably for another time. And I think the other point is, what are the frameworks for how to make social media activity work really well? Well, actually, are there any at all, for that matter? And I think that's one of the points that we're making. And in preparing for this, I came across something called Amara's Law. Now, you'll obviously know all about that because you're cutting-edge planners. But that says that we tend to overestimate the impact of new technology in the short term, but actually underestimate it in the long term. There's another hypothesis, Gartner's hypothesis, which says we all get very excited about things and then get quite quickly disillusioned, and then sort of it drifts away before we get into a period where we work the technology productively and of value. And I think that applies in this question of measurement. There's a bit of a danger that we all get very excited about social media. It's going to be fantastic. Measure it in some pretty pony ways, actually, and then can't really make any decent business cases, become a bit disillusioned and drift away. Whereas I imagine that many businesses will be using social media in ways they probably can't even think about in a few years' time. I just even think about the transformation that we've been through, that 2 years ago we had no social media whatsoever, and we've got several million people involved in this now on social media, and creating massive economies of communication, also customer service. So I think this measurement topic is important, and if we get it wrong or don't do it very well, I think you just discredit the whole thing, and Amara's Law will kick in. This is a complex chart and a complex measurement ecosystem. I won't go through it in detail, but it just gives you a sense of all the different elements that are around when we're discussing measurement and evaluation. We've got our old friends, qualitative and quantitative work. You've obviously got lots of explicit transactional data, increasingly implicit data, where we can say, okay, we think our targets are these people, deriving it from existing knowledge. I love this expression, the social fire hose. I remember we subscribed to something a few years back. I think it was called Meltwater or something like that. All these things have these, groovy names. And the stuff just used to come in like this thick. It was just extraordinary to try and make sense of this stuff, and and the volume. And obviously there's things like website analytics, lots of information around that, and what's that telling you. So it is a complex measurement ecosystem, although again people may not be thinking about it in that way. They may well actually be taking some very basic approaches. So what it's not is, in the moment, this is the problem, I would suggest we're mainly counting, not measuring. And there's quite a bit of, something's happened here, but very few robust cases. And we'll probably go into that in a bit of a detail. You know, we've done something in social media, and I think I detect a pulse. Something's happened, therefore social media is vindicated. And again, particularly this failure to align objectives to business KPIs and separate effects from other activity. And again, none of this is new. It's a classic sort of cause and effect problem. And I think, you know, people are spotting causality in lots of places. It simply isn't there. You know, there's a sort of a desperate desire to sort of prove social media, but it sort of has almost some sort of built-in religion about, you know, it must be great because it's social, and therefore, look, it's got to be effective. And I think we've got to sort of put the analytical eyes on a little bit, I think. So measuring social ROI is less developed and highly complex. So we've got some very, very robust and rigorous case studies, often pioneered by the IPA, the Effectiveness Awards, and that sort of stuff. Really, really deep and interesting ones. We've just actually submitted one, and it's for our work around the games. And God, it's just mind-blowingly complicated and complex. Whereas the danger on the other side is on social. So got all these likes. There you go. There's my case. 5,000. Is that okay? You know, can I have more money now? So social is clearly important, attracting increasing budgets. There's a lot of dynamic data, possibly too much. But where's the legacy on this? And the relative value, I think, of social media is not really understood. So what is IPASocialWorks for? Well, Stephen's alluded to this. It's to provide definitive guidance as to the roles that social media can play and how to measure its effectiveness and return on investment. So sort of three sub-streams to that. Add to the treasure house of learning, a sort of a bank of knowledge and insight. Develop robust methodologies for using social and measuring its impact, emphasis on robust, but also a detailed guide to the various research techniques, a how-to, if you like, so that people can take on these things in their own businesses and agencies. Again, Stephen's alluded to this, a uniquely collaborative approach. It seemed logical that in a social media venture, we should be social and involve a wide range of other organizations. And again, you see this, I think, often uniquely in the development of social media in businesses, the need for a collaborative approach across an organization. And here, we're collaborating across a range of organizations. It's not a single channel, it's not a single discipline. You need to come at it in a collaborative way. So I think that's been a strong feature of this initiative. So the process so far, a fairly classical academic approach, development of some hypotheses, some desk research and outreach. Some of you have been involved in that, and then peer review by effectiveness experts. Actually done that a couple of times. There's some quite big numbers involved in this now, 130 cases explored, depth interviews, and 25 cases interrogated. So it's been a proper, rigorous exercise, as befits the people involved in it.